Our next guest speaker for the day is Mr. Rayan Ibrahim, Principal Architect and Primary Consultant at Rayan Architects. He's the Managing Director of Rayan Healthcare Infra Private Limited, with over 24 years of handful experience in design and project management. He's extremely passionate about healthcare design consultation, and his expertise is in healthcare feasibility and space planning. Very, very happy to have Mr. Rayan Ibrahim with us this morning. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, all. I thank Dr. Vinod Singh, who made my presentation easy. So he just explained everything in detail. I'm going to summarize the way how to handle healthcare projects. So I have selected a top 10 considerations in a new upcoming hospital projects. Before getting into any hospital project, so the management or the doctor who has to consider all these 10 points. The first one is selection of land. The second one is appointment of healthcare infrastructure consultant. And third one is know about your DCR. Before getting into any project, based on the locality, the state, the development control rules differs. So we have to know about the DCR and the approval processes. And the fourth is feasibility report, or sometimes we may call it as a DPR, detailed project report. And the fifth one is legal and financial advice by consultants, and the hospital building design. The seventh is project management consultant. The eighth is budgeting and vendor selection. The ninth is commissioning, handover, and operating licenses. The 10th is brand visibility. In most of the cases, I have seen the doctors who are struggling with the authorities to get the approval and NOCs. So this is the biggest challenge people are facing here. So that is the reason I'm going to talk about hospital building rules and approval process first. See, normally we have to discuss about the selection of land first, but instead I just want to start with DCR and the approval processes. See, because before selection of land, we have to know how much land we have to procure for 100, 150, 200 bedded. Whatever the size you are planning for, you need to know how much extent you want to buy. So before that, see, there is a connection between the built-up area and the land extent. So before getting into the land, we have to know how much area we are going to build. He simply said that for a 150 bedded, 1 lakh square feet is enough. So that means the average per bed comes between 650 to 700 square feet. In some cases, I have seen the bigger corporate hospitals, they use 1,000 square feet per bed. So if it is the case, then we need a bigger extent. If you go lesser in size, like less than 100 bedded hospitals, you don't need to have a 650. Even you can manage with 500 square feet as well. So to understand all these things, we have to know the building rules first. If you take a hospital, we have to consider few criteria. Some list of criteria we have to consider while designing the hospital. The first is building height. The second one is FSI or FAR, floor space index, and the setback, corridor width, road width, distance between two blocks. If you're building phase-wise manner, if you're building a first block in first phase, if you're going for a second block in second phase, then we have to maintain certain spaces between two blocks. And the emergency exit, the ramp ratio, driveway. See, if you take any building, even if it is going to be a 100, 150 or 200 bedded, you can design in two type of buildings. I mean, two category. One is special building and the second one is multi-story building. The special building is nothing but you can restrict the floor height within 18.3 meters. That means G plus 4 floors, ground plus 4 floors, apart from the basement. Normally we take services or the car parking in the basement. That is not included in this space. If it is going to be a multi-storied building, then we can go up to G plus 9. That is the first stage. Even you can go beyond that. But normally for hospitals in India, they don't prefer to go beyond G plus 9. I have seen very few hospitals having 16, 17 floors. FSI, floor space index, if it is going to be a special building category, we are limited to have only 2 FSI and we can get premium of 30 to 40%. So totally it will come around 2.8 FSI maximum. And for the same area, if it is going to be a multi-storied building, then easily we can achieve 3.25 FSI and the premium is allowed to go up to 50% so that we can achieve 5 FSI. For setback, normally for special buildings, it is only 6 meter, 20 feet all around. For multi-story building, it starts from 7 meter, 23 feet. But when we think about brownfield and greenfield projects, there is a huge difference. If it is a brownfield project, normally we don't follow the setbacks because already they built the existing structure for any commercial activity or for any other purpose. When we convert the commercial building into a hospital, in most of the cases, we just follow the basic ramp and other corridor facilities. Rest of all, the setbacks and other facilities, we normally go along with the commercial setback norms. Road width. The road width for special building, we need minimum 15 meters and multi-story building, we need 18 meters. I just met a doctor recently who earned more than, he spent around 20 years of his practice and he earned all his money, what he earned so far, he spent and he bought a property. He liked that property. He wanted to build a hospital, 100 bedded. He bought a property. He did the complete registration and he came to my office. But after seeing all this, the approval norms and other processes, that land is not suitable for getting approval for hospitals. He was completely fed up. Literally, he was crying because the road width is 24 feet road. He bought almost 1 acre land on a 24 feet road and he want to build multi-specialty hospital of 100 plus bed hospital, 100 plus bedded. So before procuring any land, that is the reason I just want to discuss about this DCR first. Before procuring any land, kindly the management or the hospital or the doctor has to do the feasibility or the detailed project report to understand what are the requirements to satisfy the hospital building norms. If it is going to be a special building, the ramp is sufficient for emergency exit. If it's a multi-story building, then we have to provide a ramp as well as fire staircase. The ramp ratio for special building and multi-story building remains same. Even the driveway remains same. And the one more problem is car parking standards. If the property is located in corporation or municipality area and territory, we need the lesser built up area for each car and bike. And if it is going to be in the panchayat or village area, then we need bigger space. I mean, for one car, it can cover the 100 square meter area. And this is the biggest challenge for any doctors who are facing the problem to get approval. They bought the land, they have the money, they took loan from all the banks, everything is ready, even the drawings are ready. But when they get into the approval process, it takes a huge pain to handle all these things. See, for building approval itself, it takes 3 to 6 months. And for land conversion, if they bought any other land use pattern, then they have to convert the land into a hospital land. Then it will take another 3 to 6 months. If the property is located in the NH or state highways, national highways or state highways, then to get NHNOC, it takes 3 to 6 months. And the same like fire. And for environmental and pollution control, PCB NOC, it takes, that is the major time it takes. Maximum time it reaches 6 to 12 months. Sometimes the property falls in any hill authority location, then we have to get NOC from the Haka authority. It takes 6 to 12 months. If it is going to be a high-rise building, then we need 3 to 6 months times to get NOC from the airport authority. See, overall, we need maximum of 6 to 12 months to get all the NOCs and approval. Before getting into the building approval, we have to get the land conversion first. So land conversion is the first process. If it requires to do a land conversion, then only we can go for a building approval. Before getting into the building approval, we have to get NOC of National NH, Fire, Pollution, Haka, Airport Authority. Everything has to be obtained simultaneously over the period of 3 to 6 months. But post which we can apply for land conversion and building approval. So overall, the timeline is required to get all this approval will reach around 6 to 12 months. Now we are going back to the point number 1, selection of land. When we talk about the selection of land, the identification of land and building in appropriate way, and as I said earlier, the land use classification is one of the biggest tasks, so we have to understand the nature of the land. And selection of appropriate piece of land. To start with, for this kind of bigger hospitals, starts from 100 bedded onwards, we need minimum of 1 acre. The shape of the land. In many cases, they buy 1 acre or 1.5 acres, but they couldn't able to achieve the maximum built-up area because of the shape of the land. It has to be linear in shape or square or rectangle. Sometimes it may be a triangle. I like to design triangle plots. I did a beautiful hospital in a triangle shape. But the frontage of the hospital should be, the land should be between 90 to 100 to start with. If it's lesser in size, lesser in frontage or width, then it will be difficult to get approval, or because if we leave the 20 or 23 feet setback, then the width of the building will be very thin and linear, and it will be difficult to design the corridor, rooms, everything. The ideal size is 1 acre with the 90 to 100 feet frontage. Know your surroundings. While selection of the land, you have to think, we have to find the site that must be 50 to 100 meters away from certain things, like it should not be close to water bodies, mines and quarries, cemetery, HT lines, and agricultural, wetland, red industries. See, for water bodies, if it is going to be like a pond or a small lake, then the distance is different. The distance between the building, the boundary and the water body, we have to maintain certain meters. If it is going to be a river bed, then the distance will be little away from that. If it is going to be a mines and quarries, then we have to think about the pollution. And HT lines, the same problem we have. And industries, obviously, we have to avoid the noise and pollution. So before selecting any land, we have to consider all these aspects and shape. Most of the cases, they prefer to buy the land at cheap rate. When we go for a cheaper the price, we end up with irregular shapes or curve, bend, zigzag. So many organic and odd shapes are the extent of the property. If it is the case, then we will lose so much land in setbacks to maintain the building norms. So I'm not saying that we have to avoid those shapes. Even if it is going to be so, then we have to check the minimum width of the lowest area. And the appointment of healthcare, the second point is appointment of healthcare infra consultant. All these consultants play a major role in designing of hospitals. In most of the cases, it could be a one-point contact, the healthcare architect, medical engineering consultant, structural consultant, MEPF, HVAC, landscape, project management, and licensing consultant. In many cases, the licensing consultants play a major role before starting the project. So if it is going to be a one-point contact, then it would be ideal to communicate easily to get the job done. And the hospital, the third point is hospital building rules and approval process we have done. And the fourth is feasibility. See, before getting into any project, we have to prepare the feasibility or the DPR. It should be comprehensive projection of the project and its viability, and it will cover the site analysis and the survey of neighborhood hospitals so that it will give an insight about the business, the market status and the geographical feasibility, financial requisites and project budget insights, customized recommendations for every healthcare concepts, expertise suggestions for every project. So the feasibility and the DPR will be a guidebook for the whole process. So every day morning we have to open the feasibility report and DPR to understand the process of the project. So it will be like a Bible for you. The legal and financial implications. The legal advice on the land parcel by legal advisors. So they will take care of the property before buying, before registration. And the capital fund allocation and the project budgeting by architects and consultants. And the DPR will be given by the consultant and along with the support of auditors. And the planning of equipment and the operational cost will be taken care by the healthcare advisors. And designing of hospitals with standards. This is our sixth point. So deploy the essential prerequisites of healthcare in infrastructure. So we have to follow the NABH JCI infrastructural requirements before designing. And NBC plays a major role in safety aspects. Clinical Establishment Act and the CDC for infection control practices guides how to design more critical areas like sterile and non-sterile areas. Issue guidelines for HVAC across the entire healthcare unit, which will take care of the air conditioning and your air handling units. And medical and non-medical equipments to be listed based on the requirement of the hospital or the specialty of the hospital. And the space utilization. While designing the space, we need to take care of two aspects. One is the clinical space and the second one is the circulatory space. The total 100% of your area has to be divided into two spaces. One is for clinical, where your casualty, waiting, OP, pharmacy, wardroom, suites, admin accounts, everything will cover. It should not exceed 60 to 65% of the area, total built-up area. And the circulatory space, which covers the corridor, staircase, lift, ramp, service ducts, all your STP, EB room, that should not exceed 35 to 40. If the proportion is, if the ratio is going beyond that, then we are doing something wrong in our design. That has to be addressed properly. Rooms versus clinical space sharing ratio. For a multi-speciality, it has to be 50-50. The wards, rooms and ICU spaces has to be 50% and other clinical activity has to be 50%. If it is a single specialty hospital, it requires, wards and rooms requires more area and other clinical activity requires only lesser area. So that is the reason many single specialty hospitals are getting more revenue on it when compared with multi-specialty. Project management consultant. So this is our seventh point, where the PMC consultant has to take care of the scheduling of projects, technical coordination with the construction team, and he will monitor the quality and quantity of the construction activities, and he will handle the vendor management, and the PMC has to take care of the periodical review meetings, and they have to resource the material and they will do the certification of bills. Before releasing any payment to the contractor, the project manager plays a major role. He plays a major role to handle these financial issues. Budgeting and vendor selection. So ideal budgets shall be defined as per your convenience. App team that suits your mindset has to be identified along with the expertise, skill and pressure management. Aim for seamless execution of the project upon timely completion with the dedicated project management team. So as Dr. Vinod said, the budgeting is more important before entering into the project. So we have to identify where we can avoid certain things. So whatever the things we want, we can plan accordingly. But before that, we have to identify what are the things we don't want and we have to avoid getting into the project. That saves more money. Likewise, the vendor selection is more important. So the vendor has to be more expert and having experience in this same kind of projects, so who can run the show easily. And commissioning, licensing and O&M planning. The operation and maintenance is going to be the biggest headache, challenge for the hospital management. So while taking the possession, we have to consider all these points. Involvement of primary stakeholders, highly essential while commissioning the project. The time spent and money earned, the time spent is money earned to be realized, so we have to be there. Resource optimization and resource allocation for every space will resolve most of the operation and maintenance issues. Defining the SOPs for every department is most important. That will be taken care by the management, but those team has to be addressed at the stage of commissioning and handover. Planned periodical maintenance for the entire unit, optimal adherence to accreditation standards, obtaining licenses, pre-occupation and post-occupation to be adhered strictly. Because I have faced an issue. One of the doctor who came and met me because he faced an issue that his hospital got sealed, lock and seal, because he just missed this post-occupation certificates and licenses. He did everything pre-occupation work. He got all the approvals, NOCs, everything. But post-occupation, during his busy schedule, and he was completely involved in the running of hospitals. He ran behind all the staffs. He just completely missed the post-occupation licenses. So he faced the issue. Then it took 6 months to sort out the issue to reopen the hospital. And finally, we have to cover the brand visibility. Proper communication is the key in penetrating the public domain, brand establishment of the hospital, digital marketing. Now the people are running behind the digital world. So digital marketing is more important to make your hospital more visible among the people. Focused services to be delivered. Targeted allocation of funds needs to be addressed. See, focused services to be delivered is nothing but we can cover the specialties, or even we can cover the geographical locations where we want to show our presence. So brand visibility is more important while running the hospital. Again, I'm just keeping this slide to understand and to review the all top 10 points which we have to consider while doing the hospital construction. Selection of land, appointment of healthcare consultants, hospital building rules, DCR and approval processes, feasibility report, legal and financial advice by consultants like auditors and advocates, hospital building design, project management consultant, budget and vendor selection, commissioning handover and operating licenses, and finally the brand visibility. Thank you all.